Good morning, Mr. Nix. How are you?
Good morning.
It's great to see you.
Good.
I want to congratulate you on being the principal of Arlington Junior High. That's fabulous. I think that you have so many skills that come to the table, and I'm really excited to see how you progress. I want to ask you, just how's it going? How have you been?
You know, as a new principal coming into Arlington Junior High, I've had some challenges, and I'm glad that we're meeting to talk to you a little bit about those. And these challenges are more operational. I'm finding that, my goodness, there's just a lack of systems in this school.
Do you mind if I take some notes?
No,
just so because my memory doesn't work that well.
Yes, no problem.
Go ahead.
So I'm having some operational issues.
Okay.
You know, a lot of these teachers just have an old mindset. There was really a lack of accountability when I came in, and I'm finding a lack of systems in place. Also, man, I've only been there like a month or 2 months, and also I'm already getting grievances and calls from the unions, just from the small things that we're trying to put in place to ensure the students are learning. I find it to be quite difficult as far as the culture is there. So I want to make sure I don't lose the culture coming in, because we need to establish systems. We've got to put things in place. But at the same time, I cannot allow the staff to just run the school. You know, we have to make sure that they understand accountability and that they buy into the systems that we're trying to put in place to make things more efficient for them and for kids. And you know, I really don't know how to handle this teacher union business. How much authority they have? Like, what does that look like when they're calling unions and having meetings, and you know, I'm getting some pushback with some of the things that we're having to do, like little things like write lesson plans, right? Turn them in. They've never had to do that before, and we're asking them to do that now. Stay after school for meetings. You know, we're getting a lot of pushback with that. So any advice you could give me, or anything you can do to help would really be beneficial.
Well, you know, you had a lot of things to say, so let me just make sure I kind of understand them. So you talked about some operational pieces, like there's an old mindset. You talked about a lack of accountability and a lack of systems. You talked about grievances maybe that are kind of resulting as some of the things that are the changes that are happening. Yes. And that you've got some issues with teacher union and lesson plans and other things that come with that. Basically, teachers just kind of balking at the changes.
Yes.
Let me, rather than give you solutions, because I'm learning just like you are, you know, we're always continuous learners. What kind of things do you think are the highest priority? You know, you've got all these things on the table. Which are the things right now that you think really are the urgent matters?
I think getting their buy-in with and understanding that, you know, I'm not there to change everything and make things more difficult. I'm really there to ensure that we do things in a more efficient manner. So really getting their buy-in, and maybe I need to look at my entry plan and see kind of how I came in, right? Lesson plans are a big deal. You know, we've got to be able to see how they're planning. We've got to be able to see what they're planning for, and are we truly planning for the success of all students and the engagement of all students. That's a big deal. That's a big rock. And if we can get them to understand the importance of that and actually get them turning those lesson plans in so that we can review them and talk to them about it, that's a huge nugget there.
So I heard you talk a little bit of, you delved a little bit into instruction there, and then you talked a lot about operations. Most of what you said is kind of operations focused. Would you say that those systems are the first piece, or would you say communication is the first piece? Which would you prioritize?
I think I'd prioritize communication.
Okay. So take me back through how you communicated what your expectation was this year, just from start to now.
You know, I came in, we had a faculty meeting, I laid out exactly what we were going to be doing and why we were going to be doing it. I met with the department leaders to talk to them about what we were going to be doing and how we were going to do it. I put out a survey of what they liked and what they didn't like. Basically a SWOT analysis of kind of the things that were going well, the things that were not going well. The teachers mentioned that they wish that we had more systems and more accountability in place. You know, but when I put it in place, they balked at it. You know, as far as lesson plans are concerned, as far as mandatory meetings for professional development, things of that nature, we're kind of getting some kickback there.
So you started with a big frame, you started with a why piece. helping them understand, and you communicated that in lots of different settings. Those are great pieces. That why can be the non-negotiable. Did you have conversations about that how piece, about how you would accomplish those whys?
No, I really didn't. I talked to them more about what we were going to be doing, how we were going to do it, but I didn't spend a lot of time on the why. You know, I figured it's best for kids. You know, I must have assumed that they understood why.
Right. So one of the things that you might want to do is go back and revisit those pieces. How could you institute a stronger why piece?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you did exactly the right things, but you said you were dealing with a culture that had kind of been entrenched. So maybe the message that you said is absolutely on point. Maybe it just needs to continue to be said. And so you can continue that why piece, go back into lots of multiple settings. And you talked about the how a little bit. One thing that I've learned through my mistakes is to involve as many people in the how as I can. So when you think about how you've implemented some of those pieces and those new structures, and you talked about getting people on board, what kind of ways did you have them give input on that, and how were they involved in those decisions?
Well, as I reflect, I don't think I used a lot of, as you put it, multiple settings for that. I chose some key players, but I didn't involve as many people as I could have. The feedback that I got, I took kind of as a collective whole, and really didn't break down individually and have time individually to share that why. So I think I need to go back and look at how many people I involve and who I talk to, and kind of a little bit more explanation, communication about what we're trying to accomplish and why we're trying to get that accomplished.
I think you're going to do yourself a lot of good by establishing that, and I'm going to encourage you to be confident in sharing that with your staff. To say, I realize that maybe I missed a step here. I appreciate you being patient with me. Let's go back and get that step. By doing that, you're going to build confidence and trust with your staff, and they're going to know that their opinion matters. And at the end of the day, they're going to come to some solid solutions. You're going to hold fast to those why as non-negotiables, and the how and the what are going to be the result of those. But would you agree that none of us is as smart as all of us?
I would agree. Yeah.
So it's always going to be a good practice to get more voices in there. Yes, it takes a little bit longer, but it's more sustainable. So I think you've got a great vision laid out, and I think going back to revisit those how pieces is a really good next step. I also want to say to you, give yourself permission to let it grow over time. As a young principal, I know you want to fix everything the first year, and you're going to have this machine running like clockwork. But give yourself a little bit of grace, because it does take time for a system to change. What we want to do is we want to change the thinking, and then let the thinking start to mold the system. So bravo to you on the right direction. Bravo to you on a great idea to start. Let's see if we can think of 2 concrete things that you can take away for that how piece. What 2 things do you want to do in the next month before we meet again to really focus on that how piece? What might those be? So when I check back with you, we can hold each other accountable for that piece.
Thank you. Just based on our conversation, one of the things I really need to do is be very purposeful about including all stakeholders in the decision-making process. And so I definitely thought I did a great job of that, but obviously I didn't. And I need to go back and look at those multiple settings, including individuals, getting their feedback, and really taking that feedback to heart. The second thing is, when meeting with them, really go back and explain the why piece, and not just the what we're going to be doing and how we're going to do it, but why it's important, and get their feedback and try to get their understanding, or help them to understand why it is important and what we're trying to accomplish, and how it's aligned with our goals, and how our goals are aligned with the district goals. So I definitely think those are 2 things that I can implement the next time we go.
Wonderful. Well, I think you're doing a great job. You're off to a great start. Remember, the goal of every staff member, us as principals included, is that we move ourselves a little bit farther to the right. if we can take our next step in our knowledge, attitude, and skills, we're going the right way. I'm your partner in this, and I think very highly of you, and I'm excited to be on the journey with you. So congratulations,
Thank you.
and I'll see you next time.
Wonderful. See you next time.
All
Thank
right.
you. All right.